Good morning, Zio here, and today we're going to be doing sort of like this top 5 thing, I guess. Not really a top 5, but we're going to be listing 5 features in Final Fantasy XIV as a veteran WoW player that when I discovered noticed made me go, whoa, wow, that sort of thing really surprised me, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, so that's what we're going to go over today. So grab yourself some coffee, sit back, relax, and let's get into it, shall we? First announcement, I have a Minecraft server. You should come join it, play, create, have fun. It is a survival server, so let's do this. Secondly, I'm going to be streaming every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So, what does that mean? You need to go to the Tap My Bio somewhere down below, click the link, and come find my Facebook page, because that is where I plan to stream, is over on the Facebooks. So, you should be able to go and do that. Go like, follow the page, all that good stuff, and come join me every Friday night at 8 p.m. as we stream something. And of course, the more of you that wind up showing up and stuff, the more we can start doing polls and figuring out what we want to play, and we can play more party games and stuff, and have a good fun time doing that. So, with all that out of the way, let's get into the video. And the first feature are bards. Okay, so yeah, not exactly just bards themselves. So Final Fantasy XIV has the bard. It's a class that comes from the archer class, so they eventually evolve into the bards, and they offer DPS at range and buffs and benefits and things like that, right? But what I didn't know until I randomly ran across like one of these concerts that were going on somewhere in one of the cities or whatnot, was that bards have a performance mode, which is what we're looking at on the screen, where they can straight up just play music essentially, right? And yeah, that is just pretty freaking amazing if you ask me. So you get these concerts, and I think the one that a lot of people talk about are the songbirds, where they do these little concerts and whatnot, and you can join, you listen to it and stuff like that, and for the most part people let them do their thing without trying to interrupt, and that's pretty cool. WoW, of course, does not have anything like that, and I have a feeling that if WoW did, people would be standing on them with their mounts and other things anyway and disrupting it, so, because that's just what people do in that game. But seriously, this was just one of those things that made me look at it and was like, wait, how are they doing that? So then I had to go look, and turns out they just have this whole performance mode that's going on, and I'm like, that's pretty dang cool. The next one up is GPose and Glamour. Okay, so not exactly Glamour itself, right? Because WoW has transmog. That's nothing new, right? And Final Fantasy XIV has their own version, which is called Glamour, right? And this, on the other hand, is something called GPose. You type in, I think it's like /GPose, and it brings up this menu. Menus where you can do all sorts of things, where you can set different lighting, you can set different angles, you can do different emotes, freeze those emotes, and essentially it's way better for taking awesome screenshots. Now, in World of Warcraft, we can take screenshots, right? It's not that hard. You hit the button, you take a screenshot, no biggie, right? And trying to get screenshots of different things, like say first kill on a particular raid, and first time your guild has down this particular raid and stuff, and we've gone through multiple different ways of trying to take that group screenshot, from using a totem that shamans used to have. Maybe they got them back in the expansion, I just don't quite remember, but there was a totem at one point that we used, among other things, to try and get that whole group shot of everybody in there. And it's a bit clunky, I guess is the best way to put it. But in Final Fantasy 14, they have this entire system dedicated to just that, taking screenshots, getting people in different poses and things like that, which is what we're looking at here on the screen, is this entire menu. And once you get really good at doing this, you can take some amazing screenshots and stuff. And there's like an entire community out there dedicated just to this sort of thing. Like, there's this joke about how glamorous the true end game to Final Fantasy 14, and it's a lot of people who, do things like this. They get themselves into awesome poses, they take screenshots, they look really, really good. If you've not actually seen any of those, you should probably go onto Twitter or something, or Instagram, and see if you can find some of these things, because they're amazing to look at, and just, it's like that is from a game that people have essentially done, which I think is really, really awesome. Something that WoW really should have in its game as well, but, it's World of Warcraft after all. The next thing up on the list is your default mount for Final Fantasy 14. In World of Warcraft, your default mount is pretty simple these days. I remember it being a really long process at one point in time, just getting the money to actually afford the training, then affording the mount and all this other stuff. But, in this day and age, it's not that big of a deal, right? But in Final Fantasy 14, it also is not that big of a deal. It's essentially just going through the MSQ, and eventually you are given your first chocobo, which is your default mount. But there are some key differences between a Final Fantasy 14 default mount and your WoW default mount. In World of Warcraft, you got your mount, you're good to go, you ride it around, all that good stuff increases movement speed. In Final Fantasy 14, however, you get a boost and increase in your movement speed, you can ride your mount. However, being this chocobo, there are some notable differences, which is what we're looking at right here. We're not exactly looking at the mount itself, but this is just sort of the menu right here of your mount thing. So some notable differences is gear. For one, your mount actually wears gear. You can change up how that gear is. You can get all these different bardings for it, and give it sort of a chest plate, saddle, a helm, put little hats on it and things, and give it some leg guards. And that's pretty cool. It gives you some customizability that I've never actually seen on a mount before when it comes to an MMO like this. Another thing, of course, is this right here off to the side. Can't really see it right now because there we go. Right here off to the side here, you have three things right here. You have a defender, attacker, and healer. And if you're sitting there going, oh, wait a second, why does a mount need that? Well, that's because your mount also doubles as a companion who fights with you in combat. See, what you can do is you get these greens, which will allow you to summon your mount. And your mount will essentially follow you around and help you out in combat. It also has its own little skill trees here, so you can go and make him more of a tanky, more of an attacker, or more of a healer. I just wish they'd learn Choco Meteor. That would be just freaking fantastic. Anyway, maybe they do and I just don't know it. Anyway, I highly doubt it, but they need to. But you can essentially give your mount the ability to be spec'd, I guess, in a particular thing. You can give him some healing stuff, you can give him a little bit of an attack, give him some defense, tell him to prioritize one or the other, or, build him straight up just purely as a tank, purely as an attacker, purely as a healer to help you out in the world. The other cool thing about the default mount is it comes with saddlebags, which of course gives you more room to hold more stuff in your bags. So you essentially have a separate set of bags that are with you at all times as well. And on top of all of that, because there's still more, I know there's way more to a default mount than I ever thought would be possible. You get to name your mount, which I think is pretty cool, which gives it that nice personal touch. So, your actual default mount, the chocobo who's going to be with you from the start of your journey at the MSQ level 20 section on up. is named, you know, because you get to name it. And when you really want to start doing some other things, you can change its color by feeding it certain greens and stuff in a particular order in the stable. And you can essentially change its color over time, and it takes some time for it to happen. But, you know, you can get your chocobo to be all sorts of different variants and colors, from the default yellow to, you know, more of a darker black color, or red, blue, green, different shades of different colors, which I think is really, really awesome. Never even thought that anything like that would be that in depth, you know, but I'm surprised. The next thing on the list are professions. And you know, when it comes to World of Warcraft and most MMOs, professions are usually locked down to a few things, right? You can pick a few, and then it's pretty simple. You open up a menu, you tell it to craft a thing, you click craft, and boom, there it goes. And you're good, and you go up a point or whatnot, and you raise it up, and that's it. That's all it is to profession. You just got to have the right stuff in your bag, click craft, and boom, you're off to the races with nothing else. You know, and then you can go ahead and tell it to craft multiples at a time, and he'll just sit there and craft and craft and craft and all this other stuff. In Final Fantasy XIV, that's not the case. With Final Fantasy XIV, of course, you know, they've got one character to rule them all, essentially. And, you know, professions are no different. So when you equip the correct profession tool in, say, you know, the equipment slot, the hand slot, I can't remember what they all are, so, you know, I'm not going to just read them off, but say a mining pick for miner, you know, you become an actual miner at level 1, and then you've got to raise its level. And then, you know, on top of all that, it has usually a story to go along with it, because they have, all the jobs have stories to go with them, and they have different abilities and stuff as well. As we're looking at it right now, a lot of the crafting and stuff, they all have the pretty much same abilities from what I can tell. You know, you'll have the standard touch, great strides, master men 2, standard synthesis, flawless synthesis. They all have those abilities. So, you know, regardless of whether or not you're being a goldsmith or a woodworker or this, that, and the other, you know, they all have the same abilities, but it changes how things work. Right? Let me see if I can find an actual thing here, but this is what it looks like when you're actually crafting something. If I can get it to actually play from that point, that is. Come on, there we go. See, when you craft something, you get this little menu right here. Or not menu, but you get this little thing here, all right? And essentially, you've got your abilities here, and you start doing things to increase the quality and the progress on the thing. And, you know, what you want to do, of course, is increase quality as much as you can while still having enough durability here to actually create the item and, you know, get that progress all the way up to 100%. So it's this nice little balancing thing, gives you sort of this mini game, and you can fail at it, which is really cool. So it essentially gives these you know, these professions sort of this feeling of, you know, you are that job. You know, you don't just guarantee make the item. You've got to go through, pay attention, properly craft this item, get the quality up there, and you can go from having just a regular you know, particular regular thing of that item to having something that is more a better item altogether. The other thing, of course, is as well, because these things are just their own separate classes, essentially, is there is gear created specifically for crafting, which I think is really cool. You know, you can go ahead and you get that crafting gear, you do all these other things, there's a ton of other stuff. And recently, essentially the crafters of Final Fantasy XIV had apparently came together for this whole side thing that was completely separate from the main game, revitalizing and rebuilding a complete new city for players to actually go and purchase, you know, plots to, which will be in my next thing for housing and stuff. So they essentially have gone through and created different things in order to work towards unlocking this brand new housing district in the Heavenwards expansion main city, which I think is really dang cool. So, you know, with its own stories and stuff, that doesn't happen without the crafters to actually go through and do it. Now, the last thing on my list, of course, is this right here, housing. Um, I have no idea what's going on in this video. I just randomly found something that had housing in it just to sort of show it off. But this person has essentially got themselves a house. They're putting things in, or, you know, got a room or whatnot and that sort of thing. And this is something that WoW doesn't have, WoW should have. And when you bring it up, they like to say, well, we gave you garrisons and you weren't happy with it. Like garrisons are housing. I'm pretty sure that this is a tutorial on how to actually manipulate housing into a way to put things where they normally wouldn't be and stuff from the default thing. And there are different tricks and stuff, and there's a lot of people who put a lot of time into their housing, you know, giving them, you know, the ability to self-express themselves in a variety of different ways. And of course, if you can't, you know, get a house, because there is a housing issue, of course, in Final Fantasy XIV. It's one of the downsides on how they're handling their housing. You know, you can get a room at an apartment, or your free company could have rooms and stuff available to you, because and then of course, you know, there's also the inns and things that are available to you from earlier in the game through your MSQ, where you still have access. You may not be able to completely customize, say, your inn room or anything like that, but it still gives you access to the basics that normally would come in with housing and stuff, from like the glamour dressers and access to your whatchamacallits that sell things for you that I can't think of what they're called at the moment. But anyway, housing is a big thing that WoW desperately needs, but can't be bothered to go through the time to actually make it happen, unfortunately. And yeah, you know, just with the complete different, with all these different tools in order to place things and do stuff, it's really cool to have. And it just was one of those things that was like, wow, why can't we have this? I mean, I know other MMOs have done housing, like what is it? SOTOR has done housing and stuff, but it's not like this. SOTOR housing is nowhere near the same as this, and it's cool to be able to have that little flair to yourself, but this is way better than anything else. So yeah, that's what I got there. Anyway, that's what I got. Those are top or 5 features in Final Fantasy XIV that made me pretty much just, wow, I can't believe these are actual features in a MMO. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will talk to you later. See ya.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment, smash that like button, and always subscribe for more. And of course, there are other videos floating around somewhere on the screen, so click one of those and see if you can find something that suits your fancy. Till then, I'll see you later. Bye.